Alright, I've got two kind of big packages, but I think I can open this one first. I just realized that when I press on this, it moves the camera quite a bit. Oh, sorry about that, but as you can see, we got this Right Stuff box open. I don't remember what specifically I ordered. First things first, get the receipt out of the way. We have Lupin the Third, New York Comic Con ad of some sort. Third part sets. Interesting. I'm not sure there's anything in here. I think this is just padding, but gotta open to make sure. Whoa. Started going way over the place. Okay, and then this is the actual thing. Kind of a big box for it, but not necessarily. Oh, there we go. I can't remember why I ordered this through Right Stuff. Possibly because I thought it was a Right Stuff exclusive, not Funimation. Well, it'd be really weird if I had it in here as well, or if I got it a couple weeks ago, but I'm pretty sure I don't. Because these... Okay, well, first off, we have Our Last Crusade, or The Rise of a New World, the complete season, which interests me, because, you know, it looks very medieval fantasy-ish. And, you know, I've kind of got a soft spot. Oh, shit. No, well, that's not too bad. Let's see, I can take more of this off if it would actually come off. Yeah, as you can see here, that a little bit, but this is probably one of the least important things. Regions A and B, English dubbed. It's a lady, and I see it's very sparkly all around. Okay, this says complete season. And this does look like it's a complete season as opposed to Fire Force Season 2 right there. But let's go through it all. Now, the reason this doesn't look good to me is because this could be interesting, but this could also almost mean maybe it's a story of two separate people. Something like this works a little bit better, although this makes me think it looks a little more like a video game. I'm not finding sticker, or not sticker, plastic on the thing on the inside, which is nice. It's not always that way, but it's tricky because some magic systems look like computer systems. Hold on, what am I looking at? This is Blu-ray disc 1, Blu-ray disc 2. This is DVD disc 1. Oh, this is DVD Blu-ray combination. None of these characters have looked familiar to me, but there's something familiar about her. But I don't think it's because of anything I've seen outside of this. Rather, I think she's just ringing the bell, looking like another character from another anime, and I'm not sure which. She's looking familiar too, but not because I think I've seen her before. I think I'm actually... Something's very reminiscent about the character designs. Not in a bad way. You know, I'm curious. Okay. So what all did the limited edition come with? Apparently this feels very clothy, but also springy enough that if I didn't think it would thin out really quick, I would almost think it's actually a gamepad, but it's not. Or is it? It's not. So it's a scrollless wall scroll, which obviously you can't see, so let's I was thinking I would just try and do this, but no. Let's be a little bit smarter. Try and figure out how this folds back. Yeah, just like that. So this is definitely one of the images that were in there. In particular, I do believe it was that image. Although it looked a lot prettier in here. Something about it is more sparkly. Like, not sparkly like this box is, but I don't know. It was neater to look at. So this is definitely neat. I guess the only reason I'm putting it back in here is just because, you know, I wouldn't know what else to put in there. Does it make sense to maybe turn it around? It looks like it's all the same stuff, so we'll just do that. Next up, we have Fire Force Season 2. This is Season 2 Part 2. And I didn't plan on it, but I really should have. If I move these DVDs on the side over here, we'll just put that in there. And you know what? While I'm at it, I'm going to grab this and let's start taking a peek at the inside of this. They don't do this a whole lot, but this is still a show that's like, you know, it's shonen. Those tend to, let's see, regions A and B, English dub, Season 2 limited edition features. It's Firefoot Ace. Not really, but another shiny box. So, for starters, Season 2 Part 2. I guess this makes today a real Funimation sort of day, doesn't it? 3, 4. 3, 4. Well, that's pretty straightforward. Let's see. I think now what I'm going to do to keep this consistent is I'm going to put Season 2 Part 1 back in here. Then we're going to take a look at this booklet. A lot of text though. I saw some imagery in there. Interesting. Don't want to look too closely. This box includes 4 art cards and a calendar. And oh wait, that doesn't come out until next month. Let's see. Now, having not watched the show, this imagery means nothing to me. I think I'm actually going to leave these outside. They will compress slightly better. This is a 2022 calendar with a lot of imagery in it. This one kind of gave me temporary Attack on Titan vibes. Like, I think it's a classical kind of scene. Yeah, I noticed this in passing. Probably wouldn't want to put this up at work. Although there's no at work right now for that sort of stuff. So, and you know, like I said, I wanted to have Season 1 here so you can kind of see the two of them together. Again, I don't do this a whole lot, so it's kind of interesting. Let me make sure I took Season 1 away so that I can put this back down here. And then we can finish up with Iron-Blooded Orphans, which I don't remember if I had or didn't have. I kind of just purchase it thinking, oh, whatever. If I already had it, then this was probably one of the collector's only editions or something that have been coming out for a lot of Gundam stuff. But I might be mistaken. This one's Region A only. That's an English dub. On the complete seasons 1 and 2. Well, this may be a duplicate buy, but if it is, I don't remember having a box set, so there's something familiar about these. These are both Blu-ray. Oops. Keep forgetting about those. It's 4 discs. Back in here eventually, and then oh, interesting. Maybe I didn't already have this. I thought I might have taken a look, but it would have been a very brief look, so I could have missed. Oh well. Here's this week's anime DVD collection update. So I did finally watch an anime, which is good. You know, I can't keep putting off not watching it. And I chose Wandering Witch. You know, again, that medieval fantasy setting kind of has an allure to me, and you know, I decided to just give it a shot. And it's a mix, but I'd say it's a okay to good mix. For me, it wasn't great. I could see other people maybe thinking it was, but for me, I guess the main problem with it is it kind of doesn't know what it wants to be. So, you know, I think I mentioned this enough that it's probably, you know, unfortunate that I'm going to explain this idea again, but there's this idea of the 3-episode concept where you give an anime 3 episodes to kind of identify what kind of show it is, and it's kind of generally considered fair if the show fails to kind of say, oh, this is what I'm going to be and this is why you might find me interesting. That's fair. And this is a show that kind of exists and doesn't exist in that at the same time. So the first episode is pretty much a precursor to our main character going on a travel. It does some things well. So it kind of starts off on this shaky footing of, oh, is she another one of those characters that thinks too highly of herself, but we haven't been given a reason to enjoy it? It's kind of the way she describes herself and refers to herself or something. But then it turns out that, you know, it shows a little more depth, and this is, again, only in the first episode. It shows that it's gonna have, I don't know how to describe the elements. I'm gonna use edgier slivers as kind of this thing, but I don't think that's quite the right description. But I really don't want to spoil too much of what it's trying to do. It just gives you this idea that it's not just a simple, oh yeah, she's gonna go on an adventure and then you're gonna just see her go someplace and you're gonna enjoy the whimsy. You know, whimsy's not necessarily bad, but it can also mean that it's not necessarily engaging. It really depends on the person and their preference. And so it's a very promising first episode where you're like, okay, well, we've said all this stuff about her. It actually sets some good tonal information about this show. And so from that point on, it's about our character traveling. You know, it's the journey of Elaine. Elena? You know, I watched it and I already forgot her name. Trying to think if I could explain why that is, but no, instead, then the next problem is the second episode is kind of not that. It's a lot closer to the, oh, she's just going places and there's the whimsy there. And then you're like, oh, well, why did they have the first episode be like that then? And then the third episode kind of shows that it's going back to that sort of content. So, you know, it's one of those things where you have to put the episodes in, and you can walk away from saying, okay,
based on this swath of episodes, I guess I can kind of expect stuff in between all that stuff. And that's kind of its problem. I mean, it should be worth mentioning that there's an episode that one of my subscribers warned me that people found contentious. I didn't find it too bad because I would say that the real problem is people kind of want our main character to be a hero, and she's not really in this show to be a hero per se. Like, and you know, I watched it, understand that, and was kind of expecting and wanting that, and so when the character makes certain decisions, I respect them more from that perspective. And I think that I was trying to, that warning was given to me as well. But the entire point, I guess, of what I'm saying here is there's definitely this idea in the show where it's sort of like Kino's Journey. And I think there's a newer series, and so I'm talking about the first series, because I haven't watched the second one, and I think about it, and I really ought to, unless it was another movie. But Kino's Journey was kind of the story about our main character, Kino, traveling from country to country. And I put air quotes around this idea of country because they're more like giant villages. And this show seems to be doing something kind of similar. Except some of the way these countries are set up are a little more country-like. But, you know, it still kind of feels like village to village. But Kino's Journey had this kind of mindset of when you went to places and there was a kind of absurdity, usually Kino's Journey was more about this philosophical absurdity. It felt like stuff was being intentionally set up in order to explore a deliberate idea, whereas while it almost felt like there was a sliver of this here, it really just leaned more towards a kind of whimsical. The main character doesn't necessarily find potential meaning for the audience where they travel. Sometimes it's just they travel where they travel, and there's an idea there. At the same time, though, this episode 2 stuff is kind of an important indicator that even though our main character is traveling a lot, and they really shouldn't have a lot of, I guess, recurring characteristics, this show decides to keep it there where there are a lot of encounters with people that our main character knows. So it's definitely, well, it's leaning towards maybe doing some sort of Kino's Journey stuff, and maybe leaning towards, okay, and here's where we create a bunch of isolated stories for you to experience our main character experience. They're not going for that at the same time. So it's weird, and none of it's necessarily unwatchable. Again, I would call it a mix between okay to good, and it's definitely setting up for another season, so you know, that's that. Final episode definitely did something neat. It's not something that I would say that I felt like it built up to, but it almost felt like it tried to at least acknowledge things along those lines. So overall, you know, it's a strange mix of an anime. And I guess I'm not sure where I'm going for there, because I'm either going to watch that thing there whose name I've already forgotten, or somebody pointed out that second season of My Life Reincarnated as a Villainess completed, and so I should probably go and watch that, and I am curious about that. Let's see, the other thing is I finished watching Squid Game. No surprise there, you know, I left only 2 episodes for me and my friend, and it ended pretty good, I'd say. I don't think that what happened at the very ending was good. You know, I'm not sure if you could maybe call it a teaser for a potential second season. I don't necessarily think that it would be a good idea to do that, but, you know, I could be surprised if, you know, it happens. But, you know, the big problem is, now that it's been so successful, there's a bigger chance that probably there's going to be more scrutiny over it, and you're going to find out that the next episode is, it's going to go the same route as the Hobbit live-action movies, and that's, suddenly financial interests are going to get involved, and there's going to be too much money, and nobody's going to... the creative accomplishments of this show are just going to go downhill. But, you know, overall, it felt very satisfying to have watched all of it. I'd like to say that there was meaning, but I don't know if there necessarily was, because I was in the moment. For the most part, I was just enjoying where it was and where it was going and what it was doing. It worked out pretty well, I would say. Definitely worth the watch all the way through. Very refreshing. I think I've said this before a lot of other times. I don't remember if I mentioned that my parents also both watched it, and they both seemed to really like it, although I didn't see them. I'm just trying to remember what they said. I know my mom gushed about it, but she tends to chat more on Discord than my dad does. Not that my dad doesn't, but I don't know that he necessarily talked about that. Anything else we're talking about? As you may guess, I'm still playing Dead by Daylight. And that's part of the reason why there's slowdown in my watching. I'm deliberately putting effort into watching anime, especially since, there was actual stuff that's like, oh, this actually really interests me. And, there's more stuff this week as well that does that. So, very promising for next week. I should have that. It should also be promising that I reached one of my major goals. I reached Iridescent 1 with Survivor. I'm not planning on trying to do it for Killer because the main problem is, again, I don't play a killer that kills people. People tend to die, but it's usually because of, again, I either make a mistake and don't realize I hooked somebody before, or more likely they goof off with me in the endgame collapse and let themselves die. Like, I don't even hook them and they just die in the endgame collapse. So, and the 13th, which is in a couple of days, actually it's in a week. No, less than a week. The grades all reset. I get blood points for however far I got. So at this point, it's more just intentionally leveling up killers mostly to level 15. It's been good for giving me a chance to play a slightly wider variety of them and put a little bit more into them than just, oh, yeah, they have this. I think I experienced the same wonder being able to finally play as Trapper, getting him up to level 40 in order to unlock some of his stuff, which are fun, not necessarily metagame shifting, but, fun. And then, learning how to think like a Trapper, at least a Trapper who can exist in the lower tiers of a killer who just never kills anybody. Which hopefully is fun for the survivors, because it means that while I am pretty good and aggressive in the early game for getting my hook everybody wants, once that happens, I'm more just pressuring people in order to keep their blood points high. If a killer does nothing, you can get high blood points. Well, I say this because part of the reason I was able to pip up as Survivor and reach Iridescent 1 is because during that last Iridescent 1 grind where you actually have to get good games, a good number of them, I did encounter the same AFK killer twice. And they're using some sort of automatic program that causes them to swing and whatnot. And I learned, I knew how to take advantage of that in order to get some score. And I got away from both of those matches gaining a total of 3 out of my 5 pips. And then I had a good game. And then a final game against a Pyramid Head who was a little tipsy. And because she wasn't aware of Silent Hill 2 lore, she didn't mind as much the fact that me playing as James Sunderland managed to escape. Which, a true Pyramid Head would want James to escape, because Pyramid Head is a manifestation of James's guilt and the desire to be punished, but he as an entity exists in order to push James forward into getting past that, basically. And this is at a very high level in Silent Hill. And so, in theory, lore-wise, a Pyramid Head would want to just drive a James Sunderland survivor to successfully escape from the trial if they were following that. Not, oh, Pyramid Head wants to kill every James. But he would want to torment James and make sure James suffers a little bit as a part of growing as a person. But, I play the counter James, which is some of the endings aren't so positive, and so sometimes James doesn't get out of there, and it's not because Pyramid Head killed him, it's because he let himself succumb to Silent Hill, so to speak. And I play a James that just does that, and I'm actually always looking for an excuse to sacrifice myself, and in that case it was just hard knowing that I wanted to sacrifice myself as a James to a Pyramid Head, But if I escaped that trial, I was gonna get my final pip up, reach Iridescent 1, and then I could truly just not give any shit about it, because I was wondering if I could, and I did. Congratulations, I guess. Oh well. The point is, don't need to do that, and at this point I'm just kind of seeing... I don't know, I'm still enjoying myself playing it. So I'm still gonna do it until maybe I reach a point where I'm like, well, I don't know what I want to do next, and then maybe that means things slow down a bit. And I go back to doing other regular stuff. Maybe I'll start socializing again, because, you know, my VR chat friends haven't seen me much lately. Guess we'll have to find out. Can't think of anything else worth mentioning. So, y'all, have a nice week.